know what lies ahead, but we can't leave our children in a world without hope.
Hey, welcome to ScreenCrush. I'm Colton Ogburn, and these are all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in the new trailer for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And a little later, I'm going to bring in ScreenCrush's own Brianna, McLarty, and Dodson Seitz to talk about their overall thoughts on the trailer and if this movie has any chance of breaking the DC curse. But first, the Easter eggs. So we open with this line from Arthur.
4 years ago, I was basically unemployed.
This line is in reference to right before the events of the first Aquaman movie, so post-Justice League, but pre-Arthur becoming the King of Atlantis.
King Arthur of Atlantis.
We hear Arthur say that now he is a husband and a father, so this tells us that he and Mira have gotten married and had a baby. And here we can actually see Mira and Arthur's mother, Queen Atlanna, sitting on a picnic blanket, and Arthur and his father are doing some type of combat training. Now, this newborn baby boy is likely going to be called Arthur Curry Jr., aka Aqua Baby. In the comics, Aqua Baby is the son of Arthur and Mira, and he first appeared in 1965's Aquaman number 23. Now, in the comics, Arthur's brother Orm, aka Ocean Master, was really fond of his nephew despite his hatred for Aquaman. Now, I actually want to issue a quick spoiler warning real quick for another key moment from the comics that could very well happen in this movie, so you've been warned. In the comics, Aqua Baby is killed by Black Manta, who of course is the villain of this film. And in this movie, Black Manta is on a mission to take everything Aquaman loves and kill his entire family.
I'm gonna kill Aquaman and destroy everything he holds dear.
Now in the comics, Black Manta kidnaps Aqua Baby and forces Aquaman and his sidekick, Aqua Lad, to fight to the death in exchange for Aqua Baby's life. Now, while I don't think we'll be seeing Aqua Lad in this movie, I do think that Aquaman's brother, Orm, could take the place of Aqualad, and we could see Black Manta force the two brothers to fight to the death in exchange for the life of Aqua Baby.
Brother against brother.
Now, long story short, in the comics, Aquaman and Aqualad don't kill one another, and Aqua Baby dies. Now, personally, I think that's a little dark, and I'm doubting they go that route in the movie, but I do think we'll see the baby kidnapped and threatened with death, which will then lead to Arthur, Orm, and Mira laying the smackdown on Black Manta. In fact, a little later in the trailer, we see Mira punching this glass, and I think that's likely her coming to the rescue of Aqua Baby. Next, we get this exchange between Arthur and his dad, Boba, I mean Tom.
My job was a little less stressful than yours.
This line is alluding to Arthur's additional role as King of Atlantis on top of the duties of being a husband, a father, and a superhero. Now, in the last film, we saw this happen to Black Manta. And in the post-credit scene, we discover that Black Manta survived.
You gotta tell me how to find him.
So throughout the years, the character of Black Manta has served as like what the Joker is to Batman or what Green Goblin is to Spider-Man, the type of villain who has a personal vendetta against their superhero counterpart. Now, Black Manta was a secondary villain in the last film, so it's fun to see that he'll be taking center stage as the main vengeful antagonist for this sequel. Black Manta first appeared in 1967's Aquaman number 35, but Manta had no definitive origin story until number 6 of this 1993 Aquaman series. In this scene, we see Arthur taking on what looks like the first invasion of Atlantis by Black Manta. And next we get this line.
500 million people from every known species in the sea call this place home. But that doesn't mean they all like me.
This line is likely foreshadowing that there are certain factions of Atlantis that aren't pleased with their new king and who may fall in line with Black Manta in his efforts to take over Atlantis. That could be why Aquaman has recruited his brother Orm for help. Now, if you're like me and haven't seen the original Aquaman movie in like 5 years, here's a quick recap. So the first Aquaman film takes place after the first Justice League movie, and it shows Arthur getting taken to Atlantis by Mira. He's really not keen on being there, and he feels like an outsider, and he feels betrayed and like his mother abandoned him.
Don't let him forget me.
But it turns out she only did what she did to keep him safe.
I made a choice. I had to leave to save you.
Anyway, Arthur goes to war with Atlantis' tyrant king, King Orm, Arthur's half-brother, and they battle for the throne.
Atlantis will never accept you as its king. Well then by bloodshed, do the gods make known their will?
Long story short, Arthur defeats Orm in combat and he's taken into custody, and Arthur becomes the new king of Atlantis.
They made me what I am. a son of the land, a king of the seas.
Now, here in the trailer, we see Black Manta with what's called the Black Trident. This trident is giving off this green energy that we can see possessing these zombie-looking warriors later in the trailer. And it's also giving Black Manta his newfound power. And I would assume it's also corrupting his mind. Now, there's really not much known about this Black Trident. In the comics, Black Manta is in possession of a trident called the Orichalcum Trident. The Orichalcum Trident was made from a mystical metal called Orichalcum. In the comics, Orichalcum is so strong that it's even able to wound Kryptonians. And if you look at this shot of the Black Trident, it looks a lot like this kryptonite from Batman v Superman that was found in the ocean. So I wonder if this is kryptonite that somehow made its way to Earth back during the time of King Atlan's rule. Now, King Atlan is the ancient king of Atlantis whose trident Arthur Curry now possesses. We saw King Atlan in flashbacks in the first movie, as well as in the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, fighting against Darkseid during his first invasion of Earth. And here we see a flashback of Atlan fighting this dark figure with the Black Trident that I mentioned earlier. In this flashback scene, I believe we'll learn of the lost kingdom that was cursed and plagued by the Dark Trident, and we'll learn that the dark magic eventually led to this kingdom's demise. Now, the title of this movie is The Lost Kingdom, so perhaps this trident comes from a kingdom that was long forgotten and that Black Manta has found the ruins of. In the trailer, they say that the trident was around during the time of King Atlan and was a curse upon the Seven Kingdoms.
During King Atlan's time, there were 7 kingdoms. The trident was a curse upon them all.
Now, there's a shot later in the trailer where we see a mysterious dark figure in a flashback scene using the trident in a fight with King Atlan, but more on that and the trident in just a sec. Next, we get a shot of a desert, likely meaning we'll see Aquaman travel back to this same location from the first film, the Old Kingdom of the Deserters.
The cylinder bears the markings of the Deserter Kingdom.
This kingdom also appears to be where Orm was exiled to after his defeat in the first film.
Take him, but make sure he has a view.
Now, in this shot, we see Aquaman using an invisibility suit, or what's better known as his stealth suit. This suit first appeared in the comics in a 1986 Aquaman miniseries, which featured Aquaman returning to Atlantis from his peaceful life with Mera above ground, which appears to be exactly what we're getting in this movie. Director James Gunn said that this stealth suit from the comics inspired this new costume, and that the camouflage ability was inspired by the ability of creatures like squids and octopuses. Octopuses? Octopi? So we see Arthur go to break Orm out of prison, and he has to fight these creatures that look a lot like Groot from the comics.
And Groot.
Whoa!
Hey!
Now, I'm not sure exactly what these guys are, but they appear to be some type of Atlantean guards who've adapted to this desert climate. Now, my question is, if Arthur is king, why is he having to break Orm out of prison? Couldn't he just order his release? So, with that being the case, it makes me wonder if at this point in the film, Arthur is no longer recognized as king, and if Black Manta has taken over. Now, when I saw footage of Aquaman 2 back at CinemaCon, one of the first things I said was that it reminded me of Thor: The Dark World.
Say what?
No, not in a bad way, just that this is a movie about two brothers who are basically gods who have fought over the throne. One brother went bad and was put in prison, but now that a greater threat has arrived, the hero brother breaks the villain brother out of prison, and they team up to save the day and their home. But instead of Orm dying at the end like Loki, well, at least temporarily, I think we're going to see him regain the throne. In this clip, we hear Arthur say,
Yeah, well, I hate this job.
I think that Arthur is going to realize that his place in life is being a father, a husband, and a superhero, not the king of Atlantis. And this movie will give Orm the redemption story he needs to become a truly great king. Now, here we can see a statue similar to the ones we see here in this King Atlan flashback from the first film. Here Orm says,
He means to end the bloodline.
Now, in the movies, Aquaman and his brother are both descendants of King Atlan. So, whatever dark force is possessing the Black Trident and now Black Manta, it likely has a similar goal of exacting revenge on the Atlan bloodline. Okay, so I love this line from Arthur about hope.
We can't leave our children in a world without hope.
And of course, I couldn't help but think of my man Henry when he said it.
It's not an S. On my world, it means hope.
So with that and the green stuff, maybe we'll get a Superman reference in this movie. I highly doubt it, but hey, a guy can dream.
Been a while since anyone's made the world this nervous.
Okay, so I have got with me ScreenCrush's own Dodson Seitz and Brianna McLarty to talk about our overall thoughts on the Aquaman 2 Lost Kingdom trailer. So I want to talk about what the hell is going on with DC, as well as if we think this will be the last time that we see Jason Momoa as Aquaman. So Dot, I'll throw it to you first. What did you think of this trailer overall, and do you think it's going to be the last time we see Momoa?
First off, I want to start off with that I'm a huge DC fan, and I'm a huge Aquaman fan. In fact, I've literally have Aquaman tattooed on my arm, right here, okay? Oh, wow. I am not even kidding. Love Aquaman, okay? I'm a sucker for sea monsters. This trailer, there's a lot going on here, right? This was the first time I ever felt from a trailer like genuine superhero fatigue, and could really examine it. Right, I felt like I love Black Manta. I have Black Manta wallpapers on my desktop right now behind you guys. Okay, love Black Manta. His introduction felt so lackluster, felt so generic. The plot of what he's going after and his whole motivation seems so generic here that it doesn't get me motivated for it. And like, I actually did enjoy Aquaman, the first one. I thought it was one of the ones that like has really been kind of underlooked on DC's end, because people just kind of got tired of the whole Justice League trauma that's going on there. You also got the whole Amber Heard situation here. This movie just feels like DC's ignored relative that they try not to talk about, and they kind of they got to push it out here before the whole universe gets rebooted. So I think this is the last time we're going to see Aquaman, and I think that while it's really interesting that they've kind of tried to like let Aquaman kind of just be Jason Momoa on screen, it's like it's really weird here. Like this is a movie, when you're watching the trailer, that should have the same magnitude of some of the sequels we've seen in Marvel, right? This should feel like a Winter Soldier. This should feel like a Wakanda Forever, right? Like, this should feel like that level of excitement, and it's just not there. So, it's sad to see. I think that, again, Black Manta is such a cool, fun character to explore. He's got such cool powers. He's an underwater Darth Vader. This should be really, really easy. And, unfortunately, just with DC and the decisions that they've made lately, this has just felt like really forgotten, and I think it comes through in this trailer.
I agree. Brianna, are you stoked for Aquaman 2?
No, I wasn't a huge fan of the first Aquaman, and then I think watching this trailer, I think you're right, it just felt really lackluster, and for me, the biggest issue was I cannot tell what the tone of this movie is going to be. It has the lighting and some of the same beats as sort of a traditional like superhero movie, but then also has these really, really, really funny moments, like when you see his like when you see his like suit hanging dry, or like when he runs into the statue. Like, it actually made me giggle. So I was like, oh well, if you go the funnier route, this might work. If you go like the traditional superhero route, the funny stuff doesn't make a ton of sense. And then
it felt kind of like they're trying to like Shazam Aquaman.
Yeah, and I was like, if you're gonna do that, you need to really commit.
Right, lean in.
Yeah, like go for it all the way. And additionally, having the director be James Wan, like, I love James Wan as a director, but he's a brilliant horror director. He's made amazing horror movies. So also seeing him do this, which is so tonally different from like everything he's ever made except for the first Aquaman, I was just like, I can't tell where this is going, and it doesn't feel cohesive at all. Like, I'll go see it because I really like superhero movies, and I'll probably have a fun time seeing it, but it wasn't a trailer that made me like immediately excited or even really know what was going on that much, to be perfectly honest.
Again, I agree, and I just have to say it's so sad, the state that DC is in. I should have mentioned off the top, of course, when I say, do you think this is going to be Momoa's last time as Aquaman, a different character, anything like that? That's because, of course, we have James Gunn coming in to do the DCU. We're getting an official reboot with Superman Legacy. So I guess my next question would be, DC right now, it's just in this cycle of failure. I mean, Black Adam bombed. Shazam 2 bombed. The Flash, as much as I loved it, it bombed, and a lot of people didn't like it. What was after that? Blue Beetle. I really liked Blue Beetle. It bombed. I think Aquaman 2, it's destined for a similar fate. I would say Aquaman benefits from the first film not being overly tied to the DCEU, but that was the same case for Black Adam, Shazam, and Blue Beetle. None of those characters are really intertwined in the overall DCEU, and they failed. So my question is, Dodd, do you think that Aquaman 2 stands a chance in hell, even with Jason Momoa at the helm? Do you think it stands a chance at making some money, or is it going to be another box office failure?
I mean, I think it's destined for the bottom. The problem is that and the same thing with the first movie. The first movie was setting up for a larger universe, not just a larger universe for the DC universe. Remember, they were trying to like start stuff with like the Trench. They were gonna have like a Trench TV series about what was going on with like the Swamp Mer people thing, which kind of seemed cool based off of the first movie. They had like crab people in there. I wanted to know what the crab people's deal was. Like, give me a whole series on the I'm invested in what's going on with them, right? We got street sharks in this one, right? With the little hammerheads and the harnesses, the He-Man harnesses and stuff. I want to know what their deal is, right? Are they have any relation to King Shark, right? Anything there. There's so much they could play with here. But you're building to a universe that no one is excited about besides me, because I like underwater people. Like, I think that there's a lot to be hesitant about. I think, Brianna, you're right about them not being able to find their pacing with this, the tone of it. It has this, like, weird, like, kind of, like, chuckled of, like trying to give this slice of life element to being the king of Atlantis. And, like... yeah, that may be able to work for Shazam, but it's trying to create this comedy feel for a movie that should be trying to expand into bigger worlds when we know that those worlds are going to be shut off, right? So I think literally the best thing you could have at the end of this movie is like James Gunn going through a portal and be like, hey, do you want to do Lobo instead? And then just pulling him in, and then... they have that. Look, have James Gunn dressed as the Anti-Monitor, right? Like, and then just, do some universal, multiversal magic. Boom,
I wouldn't put it past them.
That would be cool.
Right? Brianna, do you think that Aquaman is destined for the same fate as The Flash?
Honestly, yes. And partially because the first thing is, I think it's hard to tell, but like it doesn't look like it's going to be the strongest movie. But even if it was a super strong movie, I think that DC has done a really, really, really bad job at marketing their past few movies. And it's not, we don't know exactly when the writers and actors strike is going to end, but like adding that onto it, I don't really think they're going to have the ability to market it better. Like Blue Beetle had really bad marketing. You really did not hear much about it, and you couldn't have any stars promote it. The Flash, before the writer's strike even happened, you couldn't really have stars promote it because of Ezra Miller. And so now they had to make an announcement trailer that they were dropping a trailer so that people wouldn't miss the trailer. Like, I just feel like they're going to have a really hard time getting this to have any kind of momentum or just recognition that it's really even coming out, especially if the writers and actors strike keeps going on. And that's going to make it flop at the box office, even if it's a great movie, which is really, really sad. But I do think it's going against a lot to just get seen.
Yeah. It's like we talk about having the lame duck president. It's like we have lame duck DC movies.
Exactly. That is the perfect analogy.
Yeah, until like James Gunn gets this whole thing rebooted. And I think that's like, so if you've noticed, like he's kind of taken that approach. Every movie that's come out, he's like, it's the best movie I have ever seen. Everyone go see it. This is so, he's like, is it included DC? Oh, hell yeah, man. This is the first movie in the DCEU, right? It's totally going to be connected. It has no connections. It was made way before he had any involvement in it. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to get people jazzed up for DC before he goes, none of that mattered. I'm just going to do my own thing with Superman Legacy.
He sounds like a former lame duck president. It's tremendous. It's very good.
Yeah.
That's what he sounds.
Exactly.
So... We need to go, but I want to ask, just yes or no, I'll throw it to you first, Dodd. Is Jason Momoa, I think we know he's going to be involved in the new DCU. We saw after James Gunn was announced as the new head honcho over there, Jason Momoa did those social media posts where he's really excited after he got out of a meeting with James Gunn. Is he really excited because he's going to be playing Lobo, or is he really excited because Aquaman survived the purge?
Colton, he's really excited because he's playing Lobo, and the reason I say this is based off of zero evidence and based solely off of more aspirational goals. Like, I want to manifest this, right? I just want to see it happening, because not only would he be such a perfect Lobo, but if there's anyone in the world that needs to create a Lobo movie, a Lobo content, a Lobo fucking short film, it needs to be James Gunn. And so I want them both to be on board for that project. So that's what I hope it is. I, again, love Aquaman, okay? I got him tattooed here on my arm. Would absolutely want to see Lobo 1,000 times more, especially if James Gunn is at the helm, especially if Jason Momoa is playing it.
Brianna, same to you. What would you rather see, and then what do you think will actually happen?
I think I'd rather see him as Lobo, but I think he's probably going to just survive the Great Purge, which is unfortunate. But my thinking is, it's already going to be kind of confusing doing a reboot so close to like all the stuff that came out, and then if you're going to carry any actors over, any characters over, additionally being like, oh, now they're totally new characters, all like the 2 movies, and you just all of them, like, no, different character now. I just think that like
it makes things exponentially more confusing.
Yeah, and unless you're us and we all really love these movies, or like at least really love superheroes, anyone who's going in with like even slight or kind of knowledge is going to be really confused. And I really can't see a studio allowing James Gunn to do that. I think they're going to be like, you can't just recast this like main star from this movie.
Right.
I don't know. You say studio, if a studio will allow him, I mean, technically DC's its own studio now, so he may allow himself to do it. I don't know, but I see what you mean with, would Warner Brothers let it happen? I guess we'll just have to see. I want to thank both of you so much for joining me on this talkback. Brianna, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram or TikTok at Brianna T. McLarty, and then I am here editing and writing behind the scenes.
Dodd, how about you?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and TikTok at Roos_Bane.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you everybody for watching. If you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell for alerts so you don't miss a thing. And let us know your thoughts on the Aquaman 2 trailer. And do you think that he'll be sticking around as Aquaman, or will he be playing Lobo? Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Bye.